Okay, welcome everyone. We'll just give everyone a few moments to join in here. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Annie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm working from home because the city of Vancouver is nuts because Taylor Swift's in town. So we're hiding.
Got it.
Everywhere's packed. We had to have our Christmas party in November because you can't get a venue. None of the companies.
Oh my gosh. I wonder what the grand economic impact of that for the city of Vancouver will be.
Oh, it'll be a lot. I'm actually excited to see the numbers. I have some friends
Yeah.
with short-term rentals, and they're like, this is the best time of the year. I'm going on vacation for a month, thanks to Taylor.
Yeah. Think bigger than the Olympics. Taylor Swift bigger than the Olympics, I think is the
Yeah,
headline, right?
no, they're like the entire city has changed. Every restaurant menu has changed. It's wild. It's the Taylor Swift effect for sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. Welcome everyone. We're gonna get started. Quick update, elephant in the room. I know we promoted that our VP of Marketing, Carla, is going to be presenting today. She's actually on a flight, so you're stuck with me. My name is Nicola. I sit on the marketing team as well at Operto. And I'm joined here by the lovely Annie Sloan of HostCo. So today we're really going to be going through upsells, what they are, getting into the nitty-gritty, but talking strategy around them as well. So thank you very much for joining us and taking the time. Quick housekeeping. This is being recorded. We will share the recording link with everyone. We've got some juicy resources in the resource tab, so check those out. And we will have time for Q&A at the end. So before we hand things over to Annie, I'm just going to go through a quick agenda. We're going to do some intros. We're going to share why we're even having this conversation with everyone here today. What are upsells? What make them so great? Annie's really going to dive into tips, tricks, insights, everything that she's lived and breathed with clients over the past few
You
years.
get some horror stories too. It's going to be exciting.
For sure. And then we're going to take a step back and look at your strategy. How are you implementing? What are those questions you need to be asking? And then what are some of those tech providers to consider? And then time for Q&A. So Annie, thank you. It's lovely to be here with you. And I'm going to hand it over to you.
Wonderful. So, hey everyone, I am Annie Sloan, and a little bit about me before we dive into Upsells is I am the CEO and co-founder of the Host Co. And I am coming from a big tech background, but I've been a short-term rental host since 2009. So I was doing short-term rental in San Francisco on Craigslist almost before Airbnb existed because I wanted to do it so badly. I thought it was such a brilliant idea. I do not recommend ever short-term renting on Craigslist. It's really sketchy. I'd be like, hey, just send me a picture of your ID, nothing else. So I've been a short-term rental host for quite a long time. And what I noticed while working in big tech was, hey, just these patterns of, hey, my guests ask me the same questions every day. Or, hey, when my guests check in, it's a real sunk cost. My rentals are in Joshua Tree. They throw open the doors and crank up the AC is the big joke, right? So, and also they would ask for things like, hey, we ran out of firewood. Where can we get more firewood? And it's midnight and they're in Landers, California, 25 miles from a store, right? So just started thinking about from my own experience and my co-founder who actually founded a large property management company, how to fix this. So I will tell you, we've been in the trenches with you. And that's the perspective we're coming from. Is how do we solve this pain point? Mostly around time for upsells first. And the second one is revenue. So looking forward to getting into it with you. Okay, so upsells. Upsells have been around for a long time, as we know, but why now are we talking about this? And why is this such a big deal right now? Well, we had that big crest during COVID, post-COVID of short-term rentals, and now we're at a place where people are going back to hotels. And I think we all know the revenue is not as great as it used to be. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, 7 of 10 travelers still choose hotels over short-term rentals, citing lack of amenities as the number one reason. The younger generations are becoming much more expectant of other amenities in short-term rentals besides design, right? The second part of that is full service hotels make about 30% of their overall revenue on amenities and upsells. 30%, right? When you walk into a hotel, and you don't really realize it because it's always positioned as a value add. It's not positioned as we're selling you something, right? But you walk into a hotel and they say, "Oh, your room's not ready. Why don't we've got a bar. Do you want to go get something at the bar? Oh, here's our spa menu." Of course, there might be things for sale on site, but hey, would you like a nicer room? All of those things are upsells that they are capturing a lot of revenue around while making you feel better about it. And where we're at right now is the expectation from younger people, but also we finally have the technology and automation to make upsells easy enough for short-term rentals to do so. Again, why this is important now for operators, obviously increased profitability. So there is a stat around engaged guests. If your guests are engaged with your space, they will spend 46% more than disengaged guests. People on vacation are time poor and cash rich, as we like to say. I think all of us, like, if you have a rock that says Joshua Tree on it and say this is for sale, people will perhaps want to buy it, right? But also your guests are more engaged if they're able to engage with your space. The second is external risk mitigation, which is just a way of saying you can make that money that you might be missing from perhaps lower occupancy or if you had to lower your rates post COVID with short-term rental upsells. They can then kind of make up that hole for you, particularly in low seasons, as we'll talk about. There's a lot of ways that you can use upsells to better market your space that you can cover for even a shoulder season. There's a stat around the pandemic when hotel operators, they had way less ADR in hotels and less occupancy, but they made up for it with upsells. And then lastly, why this is important for operators, especially right now, if it is a huge differentiator against competition. So this is a weird story about this, but a true one. We had a short-term rental property manager connect a mobile tattoo artist to their Coachella villa for the week of Coachella. And we had to make sure that was legal. It is legal. And 3 months before Coachella, you know what they did? They sent out an email that said, hey, guess what? To their huge email list, mobile tattoo artist on demand, week of Coachella at our villa. Like, who's not going to open that email, right? That email is like, oh my God, I'm interested in just opening that email. That is great marketing for their rental. Even if you're not going to Coachella, you remember which villa that was, right? Versus a property manager who 3 months before Coachella sends out an email that says, early birds 15% off week of Coachella. You're already discounting your product. You're already discounting your brand, right? So by having something interesting to talk about, you are giving yourself a differentiator against competition in perhaps an area where everyone has great design. Everyone has 5 acres, right? Or everyone has a pool. What is that thing that you can talk about or your guests can talk about that is an extra thing? And that's generally an amenity. So you're differentiating against your competitors in this space and you are creating an elevated marketing practice. There's one other example here. These are both really edge examples, but I think they're very memorable. We had a property manager that connected beer burros, which are donkeys that can walk around the property with saddlebags full of beer, right? So odd, right? But it was their vendor and they'd already been recommending that vendor because they had a huge property. So if someone books that amenity, guess what? They're taking a lot of photos of it. They're also telling all their friends that's where they got that amenity. And then their friends want to book that specific place. So again, it's getting that differentiator that someone else doesn't have. And it's also just, it's almost viral in nature for all your friends. Oh, I want to do that for my friend's 40th birthday. That sounds so great.
I love that.
I know, odd examples. And why, of course, is it important for guests? 70, this is from, I think this is from Thrillist. 77% of Gen Zers and millennials choose travel experiences based on their passion points instead of the destination. Taylor Swift is a perfect example of this, right? This is a passion point. You're not, I mean, Vancouver's amazing, but you're going for Taylor Swift, right? Those passion points might be, I'm really into surfing. We have someone on the HostCo who is a knitting influencer, and she has changed her property into a knitting destination with knitting amenities through the HostCo. Really specific passion points is why people are traveling. And then also, of course, those Gen Zers and millennials say traveling is their core to identity and part of how they express themselves. So, it used to be that Instagram wall that everyone wanted, and you still should have that. Great design, great hospitality, but how is that helping them express themselves? If it's, oh my gosh, we went to the Poconos because we're really into archery. And there were connected amenities, not maybe on the property, but there was an archery. And this is a thing that we actually see, an archery specialist that you can go visit, right? Really interesting passion points. And the last thing about this I'd say is you as a property manager or host, you are the one that knows why your guests are traveling to where you are. You already have that knowledge of what people are. If they're a town in Alaska where everyone's going to the fish run, make sure that your rental is connected somehow, even if you're just saying we're connecting you to this fish run, right? Or we have hand warmers for the fish run, right? Things like that.
Love that. So many.
And then what are upsells? I think like big break, right? What are upsells? Upsell is kind of a vague term. I mean, some people call it ancillary services, some people call it amenities, some people call it upsells, and it's hard to tell like, well, amenities might be a hot tub on site, right? So just a little bit more specific about what upsells are. Upsells are services, rentals, and products that enable guests to upgrade their stay. So obviously curated local amenities, which is what a lot of what we do, massage, chef, photography session. Then there's on-site purchasable upgrades, firewood, mid-stay cleaning, linen refresh, extra recycling pickup. That includes things that people can buy on site. Something that people really love is instead of a pet fee, a deluxe pet experience where you're bundling in the pet fee, but in the closet you have a little, box that has two bowls and a cute toy or a cute bin. People will pay double their pet fee if you're giving them a deluxe pet experience. Something like that is a wonderful, again, not only upsell, but guess what? They're going to take photos of it and they're going to take those bowls home that say Sedona, Arizona on the dog bowl, and they're going to book again, or their friend's going to be like, you know what? I want that same thing, right? Another category of upsells is rentable products. So bikes, obviously you're going to want to have insurance with that. Kayaks, rentable products extend to even things. We have hosts who are renting out a movie night experience. So they are renting out inflatable couches and an outdoor movie projector, things that you wouldn't just leave likely for that guest. We see hosts renting out fancy telescopes. So you can rent those things out for $1 if you want, but it's just giving you some visibility into who rented it and signing your terms of it needs to be returned, etc. Alterations, obviously that's a big one, and Operto does this, and they do it well. Pool heating, late checkout, extra guests, things that alter the stay. And then there's also upgrades and fees. And this is a category that hotels make a lot of money on, right? So parking pass. And we do that where you can be inventory. You can sell out per day. I've got 8 condos in Chicago and I've got 2 parking spots, right? Pool passes. Gratuity is one that is great. It's also really great for employee retention if you are connecting gratuity to your cleaner. And then things like gift certificate stays. So this is something that hotels make so much money on, right? A lot of you have probably been given a gift certificate for a stay somewhere in your past, maybe like, a wedding gift or something like that. Being able to have, and this is generally for direct booking, something where, a young couple stays at your cabin and they go, you know what, this would be a great gift for my parents, right? Being able to do that. Upsells include even things like return postage fee. Because guess what? They left their work laptop and they need it in North Carolina in 6 hours, right? All of those things that you might even be just kind of losing money on that sort of leaky bucket, all of those things are upsells along the way.
I love it.
And just again, brief recap, key benefits of offering upsells, adds up to 30% more revenue. This is one that people are always like, wait, what? So we have property managers that we are paying out over $10,000 a month on upsells. It is bonkers, right? We have property managers who started recently that were paying $3,000 a month in upsells. Those upsells include everything from extra damage, rental damage protection, to baby equipment rental, to again, all of those alterations. Improved guest experience. The intention is not ever to sell anyone anything. And I think that's the immediate like, oh, I don't want to sell anything to my guests. What you want to do is you want to really make your guests feel valued by offering extra things. Hey, we're so excited to have you stay. If you'd like to add any extras or local amenities to your stay, check this out. Right? Or mid stay, hey, it's really cold out there. Would you like to add anything XYZ to your stay? Right? Hospitality is truly about making that guest feel valued and heard. And the cool thing is that you can automate that, is the funny part about that. Again, it gives you the competitive edge. And lastly, this is such a great thing, and Operto does this really well too. It decreases guest questions by up to 70%. So, what I mean by that is if you are telling your guests right when they book, hey, if you're interested in adding anything to your stay, like a massage, chef, tickets to blah, 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 check out our store, right? And in that store, you can answer so many of those guest questions that they're going to ask you along the way. So, example of this is me and Joshua Tree. Someone would book, book a place in Joshua Tree. Right away, they would email, or they would, Airbnb or whatever messaging platform. Hey, do you know where we can find a Reiki healer? Because it's Joshua Tree, so it's all woo woo, or sound bath. Let's just stick with Reiki healer. You know where we can find a Reiki healer? Oh yeah, this would be me. Yep, here's the phone number for the person we really like, right? Then you get a message the following day. Oh, they're not available. Do you know of someone else? Yep, here's the second number. Oh, hey, their phone's not working. Are you sure it's the right phone number? Yep, it's the right phone number. Oh, I finally got a hold of them and they can't do it either. Do you have a third person? Right? So you've just taken so much time to answer a question that you're answering over and over again. If it's early check-in, if it's late checkout, if it is everyone is coming to your town for a restaurant. So it's like Yountville, California. Most people are going to Yountville, California to go to the French Laundry, right? That's like the big restaurant there. Instead of having your guests maybe say, hey, do you know how we find a table? Add a link that takes them to the open table reservation. Even better if you can get some affiliate out of that as well as part of it. But anything that your guests are repeatedly asking for, just put it in front of them before they even think to ask you.
I love it, Annie. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, bit of a transition here, more just to share why Aperto cares about upsells. So,
Yeah.
a little bit more of a background of us. So, we really started in the access space. The goal is to deliver exceptional stays to every guest every time. But we really began with that if you can't get in the door, or you can't get through with the code or anything like that, it leads to a negative experience even before you've really entered the property. And so what we kind of say is where we play is sort of that pre-arrival, check-in, in-stay, check-out, and then that service like housekeeping, maintenance, turnover side of things. So really Aperto is not just looking at the pre-arrival side, we're looking at the operations end to end as a guest, after a guest books. What are we doing? How are we interacting? How are they entering a property? What are they doing while they're there? And then when they leave, what else needs to happen? So we kind of have three different areas. We've got Aperto Tech, Teams, and Guest. For the purpose of this webinar, like we are really going to focus on that guest piece, but really understanding that what Annie was sharing is those questions from guests and reducing them. There's also an opportunity to bring even more information, not just things to do, but, what's my code? What's the Wi-Fi code? What are the house rules? Where's my damage waiver? Where can I collect everything? So we're looking to try to aggregate and really bring all of those operational pieces and steps into the hands of a guest through a streamlined software that owner operators can look and have a clear insight to on the back end. So the one thing that we really say is we want to be thoughtful in how we apply things. And what does that mean for the entire guest journey, not just the pre-arrival experience, what they're looking to buy before they arrive there, any of those amenities and upsells, but what's happening when they physically get to the property. How is that experience? What's happening when they're there? Are they able to request extra towels? Is that a manual lift on an owner operator, or is that something that can be automated as a task to a cleaner on site? And there's this oversight to really understand the day-to-day operations where there's those friction sticky points that are taking a lot of time, and how do we automate that, elevate it, and it creates this seamless guest experience. And that's the result. The back end is all got to do with you. Before we kind of continue over, and I know we're going to go into some strategy, we want to actually just understand who's joined us here today. So we've got a couple polls, and I believe those will be launching. So quick question for everyone. Are you currently offering upsells to your guests? Like, yes, you've got a few, more than 4. I offer a couple basic ones. Considering it, not really sure about the investment time, or maybe you don't have owner buy-in. If everybody here just wants to pop in their votes, we'll give it a few more moments. Annie, how many with your properties do you have? Like, the limit does not exist? Are you boiling the ocean in upsells, or do you have like kind of a key set?
My recommendation is have about 10
Yeah.
because you don't want to be the brochure rack at the Best Western. It is absolute, analysis paralysis.
Wow.
If you have a ton with what we do, we can show you everything in your area that we've already vetted for approval. And you can say, yes, I want that. Nobody here is going to want that. I like that, but it's about 15 miles away, or, all of those different things. So
Yeah.
having the basics and then having something wellness, something food, and something interesting is
Yeah.
how we kind of go for it. We also say, what we see is a lot of property managers have these amazing ideas like, oh, we want to do a bohemian picnic by the water, and and then also my friend is a florist who will bring fresh flowers in the morning. Those are all wonderful, and those are all very doable, and you can make them frictionless. But it often stops people from just getting started with
Yeah.
their 5 or 6 basic things. And then a
Yeah.
year's gone by and they've missed out on like 50 grand in revenue while they're trying to set up their runner on their team wants to do a like
Right.
unique da 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 da, right? So I would
Yeah.
say um, the best thing is getting started. And then also what's going to happen is you start getting feedback from your guests. We have chat bots, and through Operto too, there's all the communication, right? Of, hey, we're looking for this, or you just, what I often say about upsells is that it is an exercise in awareness rather than it is sales, actually, because you're like, oh, they keep asking for this now,
Yeah.
right? Is the way to go about it.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good point. I mean, looking at the results of that poll, about 50% of you are doing the basics. So there's opportunity to grow there as well. For everyone, I saw there's about 65% on the call that are offering upsells. What is your biggest challenge? Is it, how are you showcasing them to the guests? How are you getting it in front of a guest for like that presentation piece? What about like the coordinating the more operational side with your team as those unique requests come in? How do you see your data? I don't know. Like, Annie, I know we data mine and we're so nerdy about this, but like, is that something that you can access and really understand? Are you seeing what's most commonly asked for from your guests? Are you able to actually pull data and then make informed decisions? And then more on the ownership side. So if you're a property management company, is it adding value to owners? Is there owner hesitation, or are you needing buy-in? So we'll just give everyone a few moments there. For us, Annie, it's the same as you. It's always like, let's start with the challenge. Like, what's the problem you're trying to solve? Otherwise, yeah, a large amount I'm seeing here showcasing upsells to guests. So how to get it in front of them. Oh, we love to hear that, Annie, don't we?
Yes, we do. And I will say the one thing with upsells in general is um put what they need next to when you're showcasing it, things that they might want. So again, back to hotels, it's kind of enter through the gift shop. I mean, I would never say that to a guest in a million years, but hey, if you need a parking spot, if you need to pay your pet fee, put that right next to 60-minute massage, private chef dinner for two. Ooh, we could have a natural wine sommelier come for a girls' weekend. So make sure that you are, and just in retailing, you do this all the time. The thing that you came into the store for is in the back of the store, right? Or it's like sitting between everything else you need is a really important part of just retailing.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you keep going because the examples have been amazing. And I know people want to learn a little bit more. And from the people that are joined us, they want to know how to get this in front of their guests. So tell us, Amy.
Yes. So the Host Co is software that connects local amenities and services to your guests, and you make profit from every sale. So how that works is if you have listings on any PMS or Airbnb, you say, "Hey, Host Co, make a mini market, as we call it, for each one of your listings," and that's essentially a website. That has a link, a unique link, and right away that little mini market is pre-populated with the local services that we have vetted in your area. So chef, massage, and then also a few of those alterations, which you can turn. You can say, "Nope, I'm already doing this through Operto. We don't need to do this here," right? And then it enables you to add your own upsells. If that is on-site firewood, phone chargers, I mean, we have so many different types of upsells. Ticketing, pool passes, right? You can have codes that you only give away when someone buys it, right? You can have coupons for local things like that. And your store is essentially ready to go. It is a link, and that link is added through your outgoing messaging, if it's through your PMS, if it's through Operto, and that goes out right after your guest book. So it goes right into your existing messaging. You might have a thanks for booking message. "Hey, thanks for booking. We're so excited to have you. If you'd like to add any local services or amenities to your stay, and I would say always say something about what is there, especially if there's that like tickets to the fish run or local wellness services, check out our store." And then on the back end, what we do is we have about 7,000 local vendors, which have all come through property managers and hosts. Vendors cannot apply directly to us at all. It's all based on the recommendations of property managers. And then we also have a concierge team on our side too that make sure to connect the right vendor with the right person. We also vet all those vendors through, we use national partners like Soothe and Zeal for massage that also Marriott uses, right? And Hilton uses. And then national catering partners as well for chefs. And then we have all of those local recommendations all thrown in there. And your guest says, "Yes, I want to request this service." And even if it's your service, even if it's your team doing a extra recycling pickup, your guest is going to say, "I want to request this service." And then on the back end, you or the vendor gets that request. "Hey, Annie Sloan wants a massage at this day, at this time, in this location. Can you fulfill this service?" So what we do is we hold the guest credit card amount. So the risk is taken out, right? Your guest can't say, "I want a massage in 20 minutes, and then they buy it. It's all based on a request system. So you can say, "Yes, we can do extra recycling pickup. Yes, we can do this rental," right, etc. And it is nationwide. And that includes obviously things like tipping, alterations, and more. And that just nests within, the Host Co is solely focused on upsells. So that's why it's great to have partners and those often more interesting upsells. But that's why it's great to have partners like Operto, because we are not doing the entire system. We're not doing locks. We are just very, very focused on bringing the best upsells into your property. And again, how it works, instantly create a storefront for each property. It's pre-populated with local amenities, and then you add anything you'd like to sell. We have a bunch of quick add templates for the things that we see people selling often as well. And then the store is shared, the link is shared with guests through your own messaging. The store is branded to your listing. It's extremely light branding to the Host Co. And we do not reach out to your guests unless they've perhaps made a purchase and we need an additional question like, "Hey, any allergies?" Things like that, right? How the profit side works is you keep the proceeds from your own sales. So if you sell something for $100, you keep 93 to 100%, depending on which level of the Host Co. And then if it is a local service from the Host Co, we mark up the cost of that. So you make a profit on it. So you make 5 to 10%, because people often say like, "Wait, where's the revenue coming from?" Right? Is that we are getting that revenue from guests and sharing it with you. And the Host Co is actually free. So it's a great product to add within your existing tech stack. and get started with it. And then sometimes people want to upgrade. We take a small commission on sales, is how we, make a living. But you can also say, I don't want you to take any commission and upgrade to a commission-free experience. Okay, tips and tricks for successful upselling. And this is I think the big one. Communicate you have a store in your automated messaging, right? Communicate you have upsells. You can communicate those before they book within whichever OTA you use. If you're using Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking, Direct, you can have photos. And again, that is that marketing piece of like, oh, we have on-demand wellness services. We had a property that rebranded as a wellness destination, and they were just using Hostco amenities. I'm like, hey, that's great, right? Make sure that's communicated. Make sure that you're saying we have on demand, or we are connected to all of these local services. If you have things on site that you're selling, you can also show that if it's something really interesting or unique. We have a group of tiny homes, a big property in Texas, and they do a Bigfoot experience, right? And they've become known for that. I mean, I wouldn't recommend any of you to do the Bigfoot experience outside of that, but they've become known for that. In fact, they've said we've had families that have booked the whole tiny home park, and then they booked again 2 weeks later because they wanted the other people in their family to do the Bigfoot experience. So that kind of thing is great. But make sure you're communicating that you have those upsells, and then send the store directly after booking, because sometimes people will not book things, even an early check-in, late checkout, etc., at that time. But you want to let them know that you have those things, right? Because they'll start thinking about them. And then 1 week before check-in, get excited. You're 1 week out. If you'd like to add any local amenities or services, we suggest you do so now, because many of them have a lead time, right? You can't do a dinner for 4 on a 20-minute lead time. So that 1 week before is great. Also, if you have, golf cart rentals, because they're on an island where no one can drive, right? That's a thing that you're going to put in that store and say, hey, if you need to book a golf cart or a ferry ride, you can check it out in our store, right? And then external links. So you can add external links, product links. You can add something. If people are always asking about something in your rental, you can add a link to it, just giving people more reasons to visit your store. Again, mention specific items. Have, obviously, this is pretty obvious, but have the top selling items at the top so people can see them first. And then also 2 other things, start with those easy wins, those 10 things. I would also say, again, you don't want to paralyze people. You also don't want to suggest something, when people are going to Napa for a romantic weekend, they're not going for bungee jumping, right? That's when you say, do you want massages? Would you like fresh flower delivery? Would you like bakery delivery in the morning, right? And then build that up as you go, and don't try to add too much. I saw from that poll, people are like, oh, I have to coordinate it with my team. Much of what the host co does is on the back end. We make sure anyone on your team gets the time, date, location, product, and then reminders and calendars of, hey, this person wants this thing at this time, if it's someone on your team. But the intention is to reduce friction and reduce your workload through this. Also make more money. So an example of this is we have a campsite that uses us, and the guys that work at the campsite, they're not doing much all day. And they're like, we'll set up your fire before you get here. And it used to be almost kind of creepy. Like, hey, do you want us to set up your fire? Give me $20 cash, right? Not creepy, but this is a way that they can do this. The guest is happier, and they're making that money without having the digital storefront in their face. And then one that's not on here, which I think is really important, is don't sell anything that's really inexpensive. Or if you do, bundle it. Right? Because again, you're not selling anything. You are, if your guest needs a water, sell a case of water or a case of granola bars, right? Or instead of, a mini toothpaste because they forgot it, here's a kit of public goods hygiene kit, right? Or here's a local kit of things we love, local soaps, etc. People will spend a lot of money on that, and they never feel nickel and dimed over it, right? You're never going to sell a coffee pod, but if you're giving away wonderful blue bottle coffee or whatever, hey, if you'd like to buy more, we have some in a locked cupboard, or Joshua Tree coffee. That's a big part of it too, is again, just making sure it is always positioned as the value add. Again, we can go through this again. Give what you can for free. If you have a welcome basket, keep giving your welcome basket. But when someone says, "Oh, we loved that," blah blah blah, say, "Oh, well, we have extra, even in your store, extra welcome baskets." There you go. All of a sudden, you have your welcome basket that cost you $15. You're selling it for 45, and people are stoked because they have something extra, right? And then also just starting to listen to your guests. This is a really big one. Is that awareness piece of what do guests actually want? And you can even ask them, are there any local services or amenities that you're looking for? And that's really how you can build an incredible strategy around upsells. Trending. This is a huge question we get asked all the time. I will go through this quickly. Trending upsells, anything wellness related, private yoga, healthy catering. We have had guests purchase a vegan charcuterie board. I don't know what's on a vegan charcuterie board, but people will buy it. In-home massage, sound bath. I mean, post-COVID as well, people don't want to leave. Like something we often say is, you don't want to with the host code, we don't want you to get on a bus with strangers, right? We don't want you to have a brochure. And those are the things that I think we all know this now, like, oh, we're going to get a rental and we're going to stay at the rental the entire time. We're not going to leave, or we're going to walk to the beach and come back. So anything that is wellness related that can be at the property. Obviously, rentals or things that you have on site, bikes, parking passes, luggage storage, boats. Again, you're going to need the right insurance for that. And we have a lot of things to tell you about that we're happy to do outside of this. Convenient alterations, obviously. And then on-site items, firewood, phone chargers, case of water. I was ribbing my co-founder because he has properties in Death Valley, near Death Valley National Park, and he was selling a package of goods with chapstick as like the key thing. And I was like, who would buy chapstick? And he said, people don't realize how dry it is in Death Valley. You will give your right arm for chapstick if you're in Death Valley, and you will buy a $25, amenities, hydration kit if you're in Death Valley, because in Beatty, Nevada, near Death Valley, there's no stores, right? So what is the thing? And he said, people kept asking me. People kept asking me and my property manager where they could find chapstick. And instead of doing that, guess what? We took care of both problems in that situation.
I love that, Annie. I actually have one more to add that we see with some of our clients. And it's mainly this, how we have the Gen Z millennial traveler, but millennials are now having kids. So one that
Yeah.
we're seeing a lot of is like a high chair. And like, it's also not even having to purchase them. It's just having them as a free amenity and
Yeah.
how that adds value. So that would be the one sneaky one I would add to the list.
I have another sneaky one, actually, if you don't mind. So there's two. There's things that people break or things that people forget at the beach. So we see that with like beach towels. Like, oh, I forgot your beach towels at the beach. What? Well, if you have a big stock, if you go on Amazon and get a big stock of beach towels, you can resell those beach towels. And if they say Destin, Florida on them, all the better. People are going to want to buy them, right? Or, hey, where do we get beach towels, right? The second one is that we've seen things like beach keys. Again, if you're in Florida and people, oh, of course they lost your beach key. They went to the beach, right? But
Yeah.
instead of having your runner for your 50 properties bring a new one out every time, you can have a locked drawer with an extra in it, right? So you can, and then you can also say, well, it's a $50 restocking fee. So there are all of those things that are like just kind of a pain that you can make into a win-win.
Yeah. No, I love that. And Kim in the chat here says hangover kits, big for the football towns.
Yes, totally. Totally.
Yeah, Kim, I feel you. I mean, the liquid IV, just having those packets.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been to a short-term rental conference, but those are also very helpful.
Yes, they are. We also, that's amazing marketing. If you go
Yeah,
on Etsy, because they do those for weddings, and
yeah,
say, I want a bunch of hangover kits with a sticker with, so and so property management on it. Guess what? People are also taking a photo of that. And they're saying, oh my God, can you believe how awesome it is that they had these? Especially if it has something fun or a sleep kit. We've seen those too, where it's like don't offer just earplugs, or offer them for free, but offer, eye mask, a little lavender spritz, and have it marketed to your brand. All of a sudden, you've got more people saying, oh, I want to stay there. Or guess what? I remember a year later where I stayed because I still have that kit somewhere in my luggage.
totally.
Right?
Totally. No, it makes total sense. All right, so we're shifting over just to talk more strategy and how to build an upsell strategy. Taking a step back, so from the Aperto side, upsells are one piece to a very large operational puzzle. And what we really believe is that you've really got to have the building blocks in place to leverage upsells. So we're going to kind of be running through what you need to be doing in terms to set this up and what are some of the questions to be asking. So you really want to understand your guest journey. Okay, depending on the area that you're in, or maybe there's big concerts or something, like why are guests coming to stay? Is it around the holidays? That's a different journey and potential intention than it is over spring break. Very, very different times of years. So start to really map out like the touch points, but also just proactively what those guests might be looking for. You'll be able to naturally align what we see is like the pre-arrival, the early check-in requests, like that is your staple. It's your bread and butter. It's a winner. You implement that and you're going to see revenue from it. And then also look to analyze your booking data. So if you don't have if you haven't implemented upsells yet, but you're getting all of these questions from guests, what are the trends? What are you seeing? Automatically take that information to inform your strategy. Write it down. Where do you get the most repetitive questions? Where do you see the most seasonal trends? Where are your biggest headaches actually? Oh, okay, it's the firewood request. Can we look to bundle those? Can we look to like proactively offer something and make money off of it as well? And then leverage guest profiles. So one thing with the Aperto guest side is individuals can have their profile and you can start to see where they stay, how they interact. You can know if they have kids or not, or you can know if they're bringing their mom and their dad or someone who might be needing some more accessible options. You can start to see that and then like offer those upsells to the forefront of that guest profile. So things to ask. And before you even start to implement that, like you need to really understand like how much additional revenue per listing per month are you generating? At this point in time, what is your actual goal? Are you looking to cover your tech stack cost? Is that like the basic win? Or are you looking to make X amount to save to potentially purchase or acquire new properties? Like, what is your goal with the upsells for that revenue and for each unit? Really dialing it in and becoming quite granular with the questions that you're asking. And then the big piece that Annie and I, will champion till our last day is what is the format that you're presenting those upsells in. And it's still not a perfect science, but there are opportunities for that to be presented so eloquently within your guest journey. And it's not disruptive and it's still branded and fully white label and customizable, something that continues to connect your property to the guest throughout each step of their journey. And then again, how are you improvising their experience? Like Annie said, based on what they're selecting, or if you know it's a Napa weekend, improvising the right upsells. Like how are you offering them? What is that logic? And how is that being automated for each booking that comes through? Continuing on with your upsell strategy, there's a big difference between focusing on convenience and experience. So with the new travelers, experience again is everything, but now we're also seeing this convenience piece. It's those grocery deliveries. Is it, oh my goodness, I've got 3 kids, backpacks, bags, and I need a shuttle from the airport, but I need car seats. Like that's convenience, right? You look at the Ubers and the Uber Eats, and that's what they're trying to do. Can you bring that level as well, not just the experiential side? And then how are you promoting through your digital channels? I know we had a question, where on Vrbo and Airbnb could things be promoted? And Annie really touched on that. But it's, those pre-arrival emails, what does that drip series look like? And is it being tailored based on the response or the action taken from an email? So if you send something and they click on a specific upsell, is that triggering the same boilerplate, or is that reminding them to still go through with that purchase or elevating it again? So you can get really customizable. And the one thing that I'll say too is setting this up. If you have 88 different properties all over Florida and Alabama or wherever, Setting up every single one can take quite a bit of time. But can you, like with Aperto guests, for example, can you come in and the main top 20 upsells are essentially pre-built for you. So you can plug and say, hey, I want to turn this on, I want to go through that, and then you can do a couple tweaks, but you're not actually setting each one up and taking hours of time to bring that in. It's like, okay, how can you kickstart, get 80% to the finish line, and then that last 20% is what you tweak and set up before you're ready to rock. So something to consider as well. And then the bundle piece, like again, you have something small like chapstick, or you have something that you might offer as a free upsell, but you would maybe bundle it. So there's coffee, for example. You're going to offer coffee with guest to stay. It's like a staple. I paying for coffee doesn't really resonate anymore. But if they enjoy the coffee, can you purchase 2 mugs that say Sedona on them with like a bag of local curated beans? And that's what they purchase as that extra. So you're almost smart setting how you present a potential upsell by offering something free to start. And then a few more, it's like how you present it. So this is marketing 101. This is the world that I live in. And it's like VIP treatment, skip lines, hang poolside for longer, or, whatever that might be. But it's what are you immediately gaining before even knowing what it is that you might be purchasing? So really just selling an idea or a feeling versus what the actual item might be. And it might just be liquid IV. It might be, wake up refreshed, liquid IV hangover package. Like, how are you really marketing that? And then the pricing strategy. So really understanding if you don't know, okay, well, what do I charge for an early check-in request or a bag drop? What's sort of the baseline? Is $50 too much? Is really starting to kind of understand, and you can play and toggle with that. You'll get the data. You'll also get a lot of feedback. And the biggest thing about this community is we're also connected. Talk to others. People will tell you where they're winning, because at the end of the day, like, we really are trying to champion this industry together. We're going through the same pains. Lean on your network, lean on Annie and all of her horror stories, and really get a sense of, okay, this is the benchmark that I'm going to start with. You are not alone on an island when it comes to making these decisions and implementing a strategy. And then the guest-led side of things, put things in front of them, like allow them to choose their own adventure, allow them to get creative, especially if you don't know this guest. It's a brand new booking. They haven't come back in direct through the website. You don't have a good understanding. They're not familiar with the property. Okay, this is where you can maybe suss out what they're looking to go for. Maybe you can toggle it, and then now you're collecting that data, and now you can continue to tailor each and every time that they come back and take a look. And then the biggest piece that we say at Aperto is like, you've got to involve your team. Like from an operations standpoint, having people understand the value add, knowing where things are, knowing how to use the software or the tool where there are tasks coming in. There's a big piece to enablement and onboarding to bring a whole team up together to be able to deliver, any of these extra amenities. We always say it's great to have upsells, but can you deliver them? And that's the Aperto way, is where is the operational piece to this? So if you offer a mid-stay clean, super wonderful, but if that gets requested and you accept it, how is a cleaner getting that notification? How is that being added to their daily schedule? Is there a time for it? Is there a date? Is that manual, or is that an automation that you can set up and create with a partner? If you're doing those special baskets or, a custom caricature artwork that's coming in, can you actually fulfill that? Like Annie said, they're looking for a sound bath healing experience, but they've tried 3 different people. Is that actually a reliable partner? Is that partner not actually available half of the year? And should you actually be turning that off and not offering that? Because then that creates that sticky piece, and you're seeing it and you're going, okay, this is actually like more work than it might be worth. Let's actually just not offer this right now, and then know that we have it when we can fulfill it. That's the big, big piece. Can you fulfill it? Is it something that you're able to do that adds value? Or is it something that you really want to do and you wish you could do, but you end up doing yourself? Is that actually the point? Is that the goal, especially over the holiday season? And then the last few pieces from us is the integration side. So if a guest is requesting early check-in or late checkout, is that pushing through to your property management system? How is that affecting the next check-in if they're requesting? Can you have it be a request only? Is there technology that's going to take a look at it, see if that's available based on the next reservation coming in, and then be able to accept that, take that payment, but push it and update it into your central management system? So you really, really have to make sure that your integrations are two-way. You're asking the questions of, are you just pushing like check-in, check-out times? What happens if there's a last-minute request? Does that update the door code to allow a guest to actually access the property 3 hours early? Or if there is a mid-stay clean, is the cleaner getting a unique access code to coming in? Is every single piece playing together? Okay, because as soon as you really start to elevate, you have to think, what are the operational knockoffs and domino effect that could go down the line that could create just more headache? And then really look to, like Annie said, work with a partner that has seen it all, knows it, has been in the trenches, like Annie said, but can also really understand the bigger piece to the pie. What we both understand all the other things that go into property management and hosting. And there's so much more than just this one lane. So have that conversation, be able to really make it make sense for you. And then we touched on this both a little bit earlier, but consider free options. Like, do not put a price point on absolutely everything. The nickel and diming, it's just not going to work, but you've got to find that nuance. For some of our clients, extra towels, it's complimentary. Mid-stay clean, complimentary. But now you're adding that gratuity to it. And it's actually adding an extra opportunity for cleaners, and it's creating staff incentive and retention. So the entire goal and strategy of that client was actually that side of it, not to make money on a mid-stay clean, right? So you're looking at that, and then you're baking that into, well, if there is an extra clean request, we're actually baking that into the original booking price as is. So you can be really, really particular, and it has to work for you. And then we say not every upsell is created equally, okay? There are many that are small, don't really add value. By the time you nickel and dime the commission side of things, was it worth the work? Was it worth the extra task? And that's where we say bundle that or offer it for free. There is that go, no go point, and we're happy to sit down and kind of have those conversations based on your specific operations. One thing that Annie and I chatted about is upsells is a buzzword right now in a lot of senses. And then you also get a lot of numbers thrown at you. So you're seeing things like, we made an extra 180K off of our upsells this past year. But the one piece that's not necessarily always presented is, well, how many properties do they have? Is it 400? Okay, well, that makes sense. But if you have 10 properties, that's not necessarily the number that you're going to hit. So really coming in and managing expectations, average number of reservations, the data that you get presented on the value of upsells, ask more questions. So we have a client here, they've got 88 units, they're in the Poconos. They average, just shy of 2,400 reservations in a year. Of that 2,400 reservations, they're shy of 1,000 total purchases. Look at those numbers and then look actually at what the results are. So you're seeing that average amount, your average per reservation, and then the total amount of revenue that they actually created, okay? $86,000, incredible. That's 88 units. Now go one step further. What upsells were they even offering? Because you can look at it, and we've discussed and given you so many examples. This is that, 5, only 5. And 86,000 in terms of revenue with 88 properties. Look at the number of reservations, look at the number of actual bookings or added upsells to the reservation. Get curious with the data. When people are actually asking for numbers, make sure it's relevant to you. If you've got 30 properties, Ask for what they're seeing with customers of your portfolio size. Don't assume that this is actually going to be what it is, because we have clients that have 2 units. They make an extra $5,000 a year, but they love it. They go to Mexico. That's their trip. Like, and that's their goal. That's what they want, right? So, one thing, I mean, that we see particularly with new travelers, the millennial side, everyone has dogs. Everybody wants to bring their pets with them. So, that pet fee, I mean, I know it makes an impact on the cleaning side of things. Bake that in. That's why you offer it, but it's another piece to the pie. So, really, kind of the purpose of this one is to take a look, ask those questions, and make sure it's relevant to you, where you're at, your portfolio size as well. And then you start with those 5 basics. And like Annie said, okay, there's no experiences on this. That's just operational. That's just in-house management. Now you layer on experiences, affiliates, ones that might actually not take any legwork on your side. You just aggregate them and bring them in front of the guest. Now that's where you're making that passive revenue that's not actually impacting the operational side as well. Annie and I know we chat about, okay, there's no shortage of choice. We do have a tech landscape download for you. This is like every tech in every bucket. We put together the report with Wheelhouse, Hostco, and Aperto. Obviously, you can check us out there. It's also in the resources tab. But when it really comes to having a conversation, figuring out your upsell strategy, come and talk to Hostco and Aperto. We'd love to have these. We've seen it all, and we just, again, worthy of a chat to figure out where you're at and where you want to go. So I'll leave that up just for a moment, and we are going to share that at the end as well, so everyone can kind of see that. Anything you want to say here?
Um, any questions? If we don't answer your question here today, just join us for a demo. I will say something that Nikki said that is so important is people will pay for convenience, right? I think all of us will. If you told me, hey, we'll have someone do your beach setup for you, chairs, umbrella, cooler. I mean, I've got kids in a heartbeat. Your time is so valuable. So all of these things are often convenience. I mean, there's the extra luxury stuff, but what is just going to make the trip easier? And again, people just start to associate that with you, and all of a sudden you're really winning, right?
Love that. I love that. So, quick recap from the two of us. Upsells are just one piece of the puzzle. Before you can leverage an upsell strategy, make sure you can support it operationally. That's like the Aperto way is, how does this make your life easier? How do we automate? And are we creating less friction versus more? Automation's everything. Annie knows this all too well. You like reduce the operational workload through upsells, and then start with 3 to 6. Annie even says 10, but what we
And
say
that's
is
good. Yeah.
we say 3 to 6, but then add the experience side, add that food side, add that wellness piece. So you're really rounding it out, and make sure that you're throwing in something that's unique. We do also have a free upsell playbook for anyone who's joined us here today to download. So feel free to give that a scan. And we also have it in our resources tab. We'll be sharing this with you as well. All right, Annie, we did a pretty good job in our time. I know we could do another 2 hours of this,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
we do want to kick it over to questions. I know we've seen a couple come through Q&A and the chat. Annie, the first one that I saw come in, we'll just kind of go chronological order here, was how much do top Hostco users make? Any particular items that sell super well?
Yeah, wellness always sells well, food and bev sells well, transportation sells well. Obviously alterations, but you can do that on whichever platform works best for you, right? Often Operto has more like they're connecting to your calendar and we are not, so you're probably going to do that there. And then the average user, so the average door is about $200 per month on our side is what we're seeing in sales. And that's because we also have people buying. We've had a guest buy $3,600 in amenities in one go. We sold this week a $1,400 crawfish boil for 14 people, right? And then you have people hosts who are selling Christmas ornaments in the shape of North Carolina, and that's all they sell, and they're happy with that, right? So you can expect that top sellers are making $8,000 to $10,000. I mean, they've got 80 rentals or so, $8,000 to $10,000 a month in their upsells.
That's crazy. Kim was asking if Hostco is connected in Alabama, and how do you know if it's something that they can utilize in their specific area? So how can she find out how to use Hostco and if you've got the connections in that area?
Yeah, so there's a few ways to do it. I would say the first thing is you can just go to the host co, say, I want to sign up, and we will automatically create a store for you based on the zip code. And it auto populates with all of those vendors. So you can see the vendors in your area. We have a suite of vendors that is national coverage, right? Like massage, chef, baby equipment, I think are three top ones, and some definitely damage rental protection. And you can also ask our concierges. We have a chat bot for you. Say, hey, do you have anything here? The other thing is, once you have a store and you see it, there is also under support, recommend a vendor. So if your sister is the best portrait photographer, in the San Juan Islands, you can say, hey, can you add this vendor? And our team will then vet that vendor. It takes about 4 to 8 weeks to really research that vendor and see if they're the right partner. But we can build from there. Also, you can bring in your own vendors. So if your cousin will do a tiki bar, not the alcohol, but everything else on your property, you can say, you know what, we want to have him do this and do it right away.
I like that a lot. Yolanda's wondering if you're connected in Hawaii.
Yes, we definitely are connected in Hawaii. You will find those national vendors, and then you will likely see addition. Depends on where you are, because we work by zip code. So if a vendor is available within a radius of your zip code, but again, you can start with the national vendors. You may have some already in your area, and then you can also ask us. You don't have to say I recommend one vendor. You can say everyone comes here and they want a pink Jeep tour. You don't have to know who it is. The great thing is, and the power of the host co, is we are getting all of that data from property managers about what people want in their area, and that's how we grow our product.
That's awesome. Another one from Yolanda, just saying we're not getting enough bookings through Verbo and Airbnb. Do you have any ideas on other options to boost
Oh,
bookings?
I
What?
would say, well, obviously an email list is great. Um, uh, I would also say, so I just talked to this hotel in Long Island, a small hotel, and they said everyone comes during the summer and everyone comes during the winter. Nobody comes to the shoulder seasons. And I said, what do people do in your area on the shoulder season? And they said, well, people come for apple picking. And I said, well, why don't you create an amenity that is a cute basket, very Instagrammable with a thing inside, I don't know, a handkerchief inside of it, and say apple picking baskets and ride to apple picking, right? Or whatever it is. You call them an Uber, whatever it is, you can use that as marketing for that exact thing. I mean, I've stayed at a hotel because I liked a throw pillow, right? I've stayed at a hotel because they had a soap in their gift shop that I couldn't get anywhere else. Like, what are those specific things that will help boost your bookings, and then talk about them more even on your existing channels and across emails?
Yeah, and I would add to that as well, Yolanda, that a couple of things like, do you have a direct website would be my first question, leveraging that email list. So when you do get bookings coming in from Verbo and Airbnb, are you able to retarget that list? And then other OTAs, again, if you're looking to fill kind of more last minute and you still have inventory available, you could check out something like Wednesday. So they're more that last minute booking window trend, but it's heads and beds, right? So if you are looking to increase there, I would say go chat to the Wednesday team. What else do we have here? We are doing the PDF, so everybody will get a PDF version of this, as well as the recording. If there's any last minute questions, oh, here, Kim, we've always just offered late checkouts if we have the ability based on request for free. I know, so she said, not making money on it. Would it hurt us to change all of a sudden to paid upgrades like this? Previous clientele and everything to consider. I've got I've got a little bit of both. I mean,
Yeah.
I think if you want to make this change, there's a great opportunity to offer any previous clientele a booking code. So where it's still like a legacy option for them. But ultimately, like there is an expectation, in my opinion, at least of the millennial generation, to pay for something like that. For me, that's one that isn't a free huge ad. I would assume that I would pay. That's a personal opinion. But it would be a bit more of a transitional side of things. That being said, if it's the number one thing that leads to all of your amazing reviews, and oh my goodness, this is like why it's a game changer, and you're getting a lot of repeat bookings from that way, maybe that's your secret power. Like maybe that's your superpower to your property. So something to consider there. But if it's someone net new coming in from an OTA or something, could you add that into the upsell list and could you charge for it? You could look to test that out.
I would also say people love to get things for free when they're not supposed to be free. So if you start charging for it and someone says, "Oh, it was free last time," you know what? For you, we'd love to give it to you for free. This
Yeah,
also works.
VIP.
We see with the host co is we see what we call I'm sorry stores, like secret I'm sorry stores or I'm sorry products, because you can turn products on and off. Hey, the elevator is broken in our villa, or it's not clean yet, whatever it is. I think we all know that a discount is never enough. You're like, oh, let me give you 30% off your stay. Oh, I was wanting more. If you said 90%, people are thinking they're going to get it for free. People don't like things taken away or even like something they've already given you. But if you say in that circumstance, and I'm sorry, store, you know what, we're so sorry about that. Why don't you book a massage on us? Or we're so sorry. Why don't you pick out some fresh flowers from our store and have them delivered? People love getting stuff for free. And it's the same thing if you didn't charge before. You can say, you know what, we now charge for it, but because you're a repeat customer and we just love having you stay, and it feels so good to get something out of it, right?
Yeah, no, that's so true. Christina's wondering, does she need to handle the payments or do we handle and then pay the property manager? So how does Hostco work? And then I can
The
speak to the
host
approach
the
of
host
that.
code handles all transactions, and we use Stripe on the back end. And then we pay you out for the transaction and do all of the reporting. So we are the merchant of record and then pay you out.
Yeah, and that's very similar to the Aperto side. We also have Apple Pay for Aperto guests. So as guests are coming through, they're able to do the very, very simple, as streamlined as possible, simple Apple or Google Pay to collect that as well. If there's any other questions, feel free to send those through. I know we're 6 minutes over, but that's pretty good for us, Annie.
Yeah, I agree.
But again, if there's any more questions, please scan the QR codes that are up on the screen. Come and talk to us, have a conversation. Thank you so much, all, for your time, for spending the time with us. Annie, it's just wonderful. And as you can see, the sun is shining through. So I'm going to go outside and enjoy some sunshine. I hope it's
Good
sunny
luck.
on your side. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. Until next time.
Thank you. Bye bye.